If you constantly feel tired even after a full night of sleep, it's not because you're lazy or broken. It's because your nervous system is out of sync. Your biology is running on mismatched inputs. Your energy is not random. It's not just about how many hours you sleep. It is governed by a sacred rhythm written into the cells of your body. Gets a divineov blult blult rlooked called the circadian clock. Every organ, every hormone, every neurotransmitter responds to this clock, and the master regulator of that system is not food. It's not caffeine, it's not motivation, it's light, specifically natural sunlight within the first hour of waking. The moment light hits your eyes in the morning, it triggers a cascade in your brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus, a region deep in the hypothalamus, that tells your entire body it's time to rise. But in our modern world, we've replaced this sacred signal with artificial screens, late night scrolling, blackout curtains, and overstimulation long after the sun has set. And then we wonder why we wake up tired, why we feel foggy, why motivation feels like a myth. Your brain is confused. The system that's supposed to activate you with fire and focus is delayed, dulled, and drifting. And the only way to reignite it, to flip the neurological switch that wakes up your life, is to return to the natural light that was always meant to lead your rhythm. When you step outside and let morning sunlight enter your eyes, unfiltered, direct, and early, you're not just looking at the sky. You're commanding your biology to release cortisol at the right time. You're setting a 60-hour timer for sleep later that night. You're aligning your dopamine, your serotonin, your core body temperature, and your mental clarity. This is not a motivational act, it's a biological covenant. You show up, and your system responds with power. You obey the design, and your body honors it with strength. And it's not just light, it's timing. The earlier you expose yourself to natural sunlight after waking, the more precisely your circadian system locks into place. This rhythm is not weak, it's not fragile. It's how elite performers, spiritual leaders, and warriors across time have governed their energy without excuses. They knew that mornings weren't just a start. They were a signal to creation that they were ready to move, ready to act, ready to bear the burden and beauty of purpose. Your body was never meant to wake up in darkness and feed on artificial light. That's not how you were built. You were created with sensors in your eyes, intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells designed specifically to detect the rising sun and communicate that signal to every organ in your body. That is divine architecture, that is sacred wiring, and when you honor it, when you open your eyes to the sky before the screen, you are not just waking up. You are activating dominion over your day. This is the path back from exhaustion. This is how the tired become strong again. You don't need more sleep. You need to wake up right. You don't need more hacks. You need to obey the ancient rhythm that governs your biology. You are not tired because you're broken. You are tired because your system has lost its light. Bring it back, stand in it. Let it baptize your eyes and rewire your mind. Because the sun rises for you, and it's time to rise with it. Fatigue is often a dopamine crash limit, artificial spikes to stabilize motivation. You are not unmotivated. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are likely in a dopamine deficit, the consequence of living in a world that bombards your nervous system with stimulation, noise, and shallow reward. Every time you check your phone before you've even spoken a word, every time you scroll for validation instead of seeking purpose, every time you chase the quick hit instead of honoring the long road, you are burning through dopamine, and dopamine is not just pleasure, it is pursuit. It is what tells your brain something is worth doing. Without it, nothing seems meaningful. Without it, your mission feels far. Without it, your soul feels sluggish. The world has taught you to spike dopamine constantly. Scroll, click, swipe, binge. But what it didn't tell you is that every artificial high comes with a neurological crash. The brain cannot sustain repeated, unnatural surges of dopamine without entering a state of downregulation, a dulling of sensitivity, a flattening of drive. And when that happens, even the things that used to ignite you, your vision, your goals, your faith begin to feel distant. This is not depression. This is dopamine imbalance, and it's reversible, but only if you take back control of the stimuli you allow into your mind. When you limit artificial dopamine spikes, when you stop feeding your brain empty fire, you give it the chance to reset. You create space for your dopamine system to return to baseline, to regain sensitivity, to recognize the beauty of slow, meaningful progress. The first few days feel hard, like silence where there was once noise, like emptiness where there was once chaos. But that is the beginning of renewal. That is the wilderness before the breakthrough. Because as you detox from fake rewards, your nervous system starts to recognize real reward again. It starts to rise for the pursuit itself, not just the prize. It starts to lock in for the process, not just the outcome. This is the sacred rewiring of a scattered soul, to limit the counterfeit so you can be filled with the real, to fast from the digital drip so your spirit can hear what matters again. When you stop abusing dopamine, you don't lose fire, you restore it. And the fire that comes back is purer, it's quieter, it doesn't scream, it leads, it doesn't burn out. It sustains, because now it's not being stolen from you. It's being generated from within, through discipline, devotion, and alignment. You were not created to be constantly stimulated. You were created to pursue, to build, to suffer with meaning, and to rise with vision. That requires dopamine not in chaos, not in addiction, but in balance, in truth, in service of purpose. When you master your dopamine system, you master your ability to move through resistance with power. You no longer chase the feeling, you become the force. You no longer need to be entertained, you are engaged. You don't need more, you need less done right. You need the courage to say no to the fake, so your system can say yes to what is real. Your breathing controls, your alertness, use physiological size to rapidly restore focus. There is a switch built into your body, a sacred mechanism placed directly under your control, that governs your state of energy, clarity, and calm. It's not in a pill, it's not in your inbox, it's not on a screen, it's in your breath. Your breathing pattern is the remote control for your nervous system, and the way you breathe can either pull you deeper into fatigue and confusion, or it can call your system back into alignment with razor, sharp focus, and God-given calm. Most people breathe shallow without knowing, especially when stressed, especially when distracted. The breath shortens, the chest tightens, and the brain shifts into survival mode. But there is a simple, powerful reset hardwired into your biology, something called the physiological sigh. Its two short inhales through the nose, followed by one long, extended exhale through the mouth. And this isn't a trend. This is not a technique pulled from ancient mysticism. This is the exact tool your body naturally uses, often in sleep, often in tears, to bring itself back from stress into clarity. When you do a physiological sigh, you're not just calming down. You are resetting the carbon dioxide and oxygen balance in your bloodstream, signaling your brainstem to shift out of sympathetic overdrive and into parasympathetic balance. One sigh can lower your heart rate. 3 sighs can reset your alertness. 5 sighs can give you back your mind. This is power that doesn't come from effort. It comes from obedience to the design coded into you. In moments when your thoughts feel scattered, when energy crashes, when overwhelm creeps in, this is not the time to reach for sugar or noise or distraction. It's time to breathe intentionally, deliberately, like someone who understands that clarity is not something you wait for. It's something you access, because your breath is not just survival, it is activation. When you breathe with purpose, your nervous system listens. The prefrontal cortex lights up, focus returns, cortisol lowers, attention sharpens, and this is where it becomes spiritual. Because breath is not random. Breath was the first gift ever given to man. It was the spark that turned dust into a living soul. So when you master your breath, You're not just improving performance, you are aligning with the divine rhythm of life itself. Every sigh is a return to order. Every exhale is a release of fear. Every inhale is a declaration that you were not made to live in panic, but in power. You do not need to collapse under pressure. You do not need to be ruled by fatigue. You have a built-in regulator, a God-ordained system that brings your mind and body back into command. This is not about emotion. This is about access. The next time your world feels too loud, too fast, too fragmented, don't react. Breathe 2 inhales, 1 exhale again and again until the noise fades and the power rises not from the outside, but from the very breath that keeps you alive. Cold exposure activates norepinephrine, unlocking natural energy without stimulants. There is a fire inside your body that most people never ignite. A system wired into your biology that, when activated, does not just wake you up. It rebuilds your resilience from the inside out. This fire is not artificial. It's not synthetic energy from caffeine or sugar. It's norepinephrine, one of the most powerful neurotransmitters in your nervous system. And one of the fastest, cleanest, most effective ways to release it is through deliberate cold exposure. When you expose your body to cold, intense, sharp, bracing cold, it sends a shockwave through your nervous system. Your skin senses the drop, and your brain responds immediately. Within seconds, norepinephrine floods into your bloodstream and brain, sharpening focus, increasing alertness, reducing inflammation, and elevating your baseline energy levels for hours afterward. This isn't comfort, this is command. The cold is not there to soothe you, it is there to forge you. Most people run from discomfort, but the brain adapts to what you train it to face. When you consistently expose yourself to stress in a controlled, intentional way, your nervous system doesn't break. It adapts, it becomes less reactive, more stable. The very circuits that used to panic begin to calm. The very thoughts that used to paralyze you begin to dissolve. Cold is not just a stimulus, it's a signal. A signal that you are alive. A signal that you are taking back control of your biology. A signal that you are no longer ruled by feeling, but by discipline and purpose. This is not about proving how tough you are. It's about showing your nervous system that you are the one in charge. That when stress shows up, you don't retreat, you breathe. That when the environment gets hostile, you rise. That when the world gets soft, you stay sharp. Norepinephrine isn't just about energy. It's about adaptation, about resilience, about a system trained to handle the weight of real life without collapsing. There is a spiritual truth here because cold is honest. It doesn't lie to you. It doesn't flatter your excuses. It doesn't care about your comfort. It reflects exactly where your limits are and invites you to break them. When you step into the cold, you step into clarity. The noise of life fades. Your mind goes silent. You meet the edge of yourself, and in that moment, you either quit or you breathe. And if you breathe, you conquer. The cold reveals what's inside. It burns away the fake and calls forward the fire, not the fire of hype, but the fire of neurochemical truth. And the more you train it, the more your body starts to wake up without stimulation. You don't need 6 cups of coffee. You don't need to scroll to feel alive. You just need to step into the resistance and let your nervous system do what it was built to do. Activate, strengthen, and rise under pressure. This is how energy is earned. This is how fatigue is defeated, not by escaping stress, but by training through it with fire in your breath and steel in your mind. Movement early in the day primes your nervous system for sustained arousal. There is a sacred connection between movement and mindset, one that modern comfort has buried, but not erased. Your body was not made to sit in stillness while your soul suffocates. You were designed to rise, to move, to activate your nervous system through deliberate, intentional physical action. Not just for physical strength, but for neurobiological ignition. Because when you move early in the day, especially within the first hour of waking, you send a surge of signals through your entire being that say, "We are here, We are awake. We are ready to conquer. This is not about exercise for aesthetics. This is about hormonal alignment and neurological priming. When you move your body, your brain responds. Levels of dopamine rise. Norepinephrine floods the system. Serotonin stabilizes. Cortisol, which naturally peaks in the morning, is now paired with purpose. And most importantly, your prefrontal cortex, the command center for discipline, decision, making, and long-range thinking, comes fully online. You are not just shaking off sleep. You are flipping a switch that tells your entire biological system that passivity is not your path. Even 5 to 10 minutes of movement, walking, bodyweight exercises, stretching with intent, can be enough to anchor your energy for hours. This creates what neuroscience calls sustained arousal, a state in which your attention doesn't just flicker, it locks. Where your motivation doesn't just spike, it persists. This is not a motivational trick. This is how the nervous system was designed to be activated. Motion before noise, breath before battle, physical engagement before mental clarity. Too many people are asking their brains to perform miracles while their bodies remain stagnant and soft. But your mind is not separate from your physiology. It is embedded in it. And when the body remains idle, the brain stays cloudy. But when you move deliberately with breath, with intention, you awaken what lies dormant, the spirit within you that was born not for convenience, but for conquest, not for delay, but for action. This is where energy is born, not in a bottle, not in a pill, but in the sweat of early effort, in the sacred discomfort of movement before motivation. When you choose to move before you feel ready, you send a spiritual message to your entire being. I no longer wait to feel strong. I act, and strength follows. That is not psychology. That is neurobiological faith stepping into action before the feelings catch up, knowing they will, because your system is being led by purpose, not mood. The early hours are not empty. They are holy. They are the forge. And when you move in those hours, when you push the blood through your veins, when you lift, stretch, walk, breathe, you are not just preparing your body. You are aligning your soul. You are declaring to your mind, to your chemistry, to the unseen forces around you that this day will not own you. You will own it because you began it in motion, in truth. In command, sleep quality is built during the day. Anchor your sleep. Wake cycle with consistent inputs. Sleep does not begin when your head hits the pillow. It begins the moment you open your eyes. The quality of your rest is not decided at night. It is earned during the day through choices that either align you with your circadian biology or throw you into dysfunction. You cannot separate sleep from sunlight. You cannot separate deep rest from daily rhythm. Your nervous system is not guessing. It's listening. And every input you give it throughout the day is either signaling stability or confusion. The body craves order, and when that order is broken, fatigue, anxiety, and cognitive fog rush in. Inside your brain lies a master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a God-designed timing device that governs everything from hormone release to core body temperature to energy peaks and valleys, the timing of sleep. But that clock doesn't run on willpower. It runs on light, temperature, food, and movement, external cues called zeitgebers. And the most powerful of these is morning light. When you expose your eyes to natural sunlight early in the day, you're not just waking up. You're setting the countdown timer for when melatonin will be released later that night. That is sacred programming. If you miss that morning light or delay it with screens and shadows, the signal becomes distorted. Your body doesn't know when to rise or when to rest. Melatonin is delayed. Sleep becomes shallow. You lie in bed, but your system is not ready. And you wonder why your mind races, why your energy is drained before noon, why even 8 hours of sleep feels empty. It's because the architecture of sleep was never constructed during the day. The foundation was never laid, and the night collapses under the weight of that neglect. But there is good news. The system is not broken. It's responsive. You can retrain it, you can rebuild the rhythm, you can give your biology the consistent cues it needs to return to peace. Wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Get sunlight within the first hour, move your body. Eat meals on a schedule, limit caffeine after midday, shut down screens 2 hours before bed, cool your body. Dim your environment. This is not a prison, it is discipline in service of freedom. Because when your nervous system knows what to expect, it gives you what you need: clarity in the morning, power during the day, and true rest at night. There is something holy about sleep that is aligned. It's not just biological, it's spiritual, it is surrender. And surrender cannot happen in chaos. The system must be led into it. Day must prepare for night. Focus must prepare for peace. When you structure your day around rhythms that speak to your biology, you are honoring the design. And that design responds not with resistance, but with restoration, not with fatigue, but with fire. The kind of fire that burns clean because it's been rested well, because it was built in light, because it was anchored in truth.